You're going to be able to move the camera for a second? Because I'm going to point somewhere. Okay. Okay, but you just ready? All right. Action! That's right. I remember a lot of great things, but I need to document that I caught the virgin pine cone right over there. Right over there. I did. And I was able to graduate.
The thing that stands out for me about Whitworth College are the quality of relationships and the way this community held me and has held so many students here, and the fact that this is our 20th reunion and we're still so tight and there's so much love here really speaks to the beauty of this college and the relationships we have with our professors, and the fact that my professor could call me and I could go over to her house for popovers in the morning and call her in the evening if I needed to talk to her about something. That's just, you don't find that at some other colleges, so I'm so grateful to Whitworth College for all that it's given me, and I'm so happy to be back and keep doing everything you're doing because the relationships are wonderful. Thank you.
I was an editor for my brother, who is a couple of years older than I, and he was taking a religion class with Roger Morlang. Since I typed his papers, he didn't feel the need to look them over after I was finished with them. But he took them to class, and Roger Morlang, after reading the first sentence, handed the paper back and suggested that he make some changes. So my brother came to me and said I had done the paper wrong. I, of course, said no, I'm sure he wrote it wrong, until I read what the first sentence says. The first sentence was supposed to say, the Bible is the basic tool of Christianity. And I only missed one letter, but it ended up, I had written, the Bible is the basic fool of Christianity. So I made the change, and he did fine.
I think my favorite image from Whitworth was coming back to school each fall. I had the same roommates for basically all of the time that I was here at Whitworth, and catching up with them and seeing how their summers had gone and preparing for a new year was definitely one of the highlights of the year.
When I think about the one image that stands out for me from Whitworth, it's coming into my contemporary American poetry class my junior year, and it was Laurie Lamont's class. And we sat down to just read a few poems, and in that moment I realized I had people. I think I'd always felt a little out of kilter with most of my peers, and I realized that there were people who were in the same mindset as me. And then we got to the poetry of Mark Strand, and I will never forget Laurie reading the poetry to us and being touched in a place that was beyond what I knew was possible. And when I come back to Whitworth, I think about my friends, and I think about the fun we had, and dances and parties and church and all kinds of things. But it's those places that I can't get to very often in the world that really stay with me. And for that, Whitworth will always hold a really deep and very special place in my heart.
The image I remember from Whitworth is when I came up as a student, and I was a junior in high school, and heard a lecture from Leonard Oakland. And while I wasn't sure Whitworth was where I wanted to go, when it was the place I ended up choosing, it was that memory of Leonard lecturing in the epic class when I was a junior in high school. It was the thing that made me so excited to know I was going to come to that school and to learn from him.
I have many memories of Whitworth, but one that stands out is how Tad Weisner would come to freshman English every day with an imprint on his cheek of corduroy from taking a nap right before class.
So one of the image that comes to mind for me about Whitworth was my sophomore year in 1987. We went on a 4-month study tour to Central America, and that kind of changed my life in a number of different ways. It was during a lot of the deepest part of some of the wars that were going on in Central America. I'd never experienced poverty to that level, and some of the devastation that had to do with in terms of people's lives and so forth. And what that meant for me was not just a trip, but it was a collection of people that I got to know better than I've known pretty much anyone in my life, and particularly professors that stuck with me and continue to stick with me. In fact, I'm here at a reunion for my 20th year reunion, and I've just met with one of my professors for lunch for 3 hours yesterday, talking about life and what he taught me as a result of his ability to not just teach information, but really to teach with emotion and passion and a realization that life's really happening even beyond the pinecone curtain here in ways that really matter. And the reason that's important to me is because I went on and I've become a professor myself, and I try to instill those same kinds of values for justice and the common good and so forth for my own students. So I look at Whitworth as sort of sort of a guiding light for me in terms of getting my life a sense of direction and so forth. So this is one of the coolest places on earth. So.
When I think about Whitworth, I think about all the really great friends that I made here and what a tight community it was. I can remember when I first came to college, I was kind of shy and afraid to leave home. And right away we had initiation, and I just remember the first night laughing so hard that I fell down on the stairs and I couldn't even run up to join the rest of the group until we stopped laughing. That's all.
So I'm Kim Swan,
Marty Miller.
and we were rattling on about all kinds of exploits that we did together here on campus. Ones that we decided probably pissed off more people than
The others.
yeah, we thought they were amusing at the time.
Now one was, where did you get your motorcycle?
I just somehow convinced my father I should own a motorcycle, and I brought it to campus, and what we found fun was driving around the loop with a motorcycle with Marty on the back with a megaphone, screaming into the dorm rooms, asking them to evacuate because of fires.
Yeah.
And then later on during daylight hours it was with a water gun and machine gun.
Yeah, that's right. One of my favorite memories too on the motorcycle megaphone caper was we went to Mac Hall. It was about midnight, and their dorm, I think it was must have been ASWC president. His name was Sean Dewberry. He came out and he took the megaphone and got all the guys come leaning out their windows at midnight and led us all in the national anthem, and it was very stirring.
It was a good time.
And I like to think we had a little role in that.
I like the kids too.
I'd say for my time at Whitworth, the biggest impression was how hard it was to leave. I had such a fabulous time. I went on 3 Jan term trips, really learned a lot from all kinds of professors and students. I was an RA. I had a fabulous, fabulous experience here, and was just so sad to leave. And I'm happy to have the chance to come back and reconnect with some of those people.
The one thing that would stick out most in my mind, coming to Whitworth as a freshman, and we had what was called an underwear fun run that we had organized that was fairly edgy for the time, and my friends Marty Miller and some other folks came around this corner, headed down towards Mac Hall to parade around, and when we got to Mac Hall they proceeded to turn on their headlights, take out water balloons, sacks of flour, eggs, and they pelted all of us in our underwear while we were running around the campus, and that's one image that I recall from my time here at Whitworth.
What I remember most, I remember many things, but one thing that stands out is being in a sociology class with Dr. Ron Fraze and having him discuss Pedagogy of the Press by Paulo Freire. And he always wept openly in the context of Latin America. And I always just thought that was kind of bizarre that he was so emotional about it. But then when I went to Latin America on the Central American study tour, that really came to light for me, and it made sense.
Winter senior year, it had fresh snowfall. It was nighttime, it was Wednesday. And I distinctly remember walking across the campus. It was very, very quiet. It was dark. And I remember the lights. The only lights we had were those from this chapel. And the fact that those 4 years at Whitworth and how much going to chapel and how much the development of my faith was very important to me. Kind of was summarized in that one picture.
I remember a couple things from school. One is going out with our friends from Mac Hall and spending midnights with the Frisbee, otherwise known as the Flying Disc of Radness, throwing as far as we could in the loop and having to give each other directions because everything was dark, so we could chase it down and try not to run into trees. The other memory I would share is of getting the band back together for the great Mac Hall show of the Blues Brothers Band playing in the Great Horn Line in Mac Hall in concert.
So it's Monday morning, 8 o'clock, first class of college. Professor Steen walks into the room with all these wide-eyed freshmen, and he looks at us. My name is Dr. Steen. It rhymes with mean. A long pause. Don't you forget it. After that, I did everything I could to be as invisible as possible in his presence.
I remember washing dishes in the old dining hall saga with my friend Dave Adams. We were washing pots and pans, and we'd listen to Frank Sinatra, and then on the way home, I'd sing Stormy Weather, and Dave would harmonize, and it's just one of those once-in-a-lifetime kind of things.
One image that stands out to me was the sense of community that we developed within our dorms, within our respective departments that we studied in, and especially the music department. And the choir tours.
Okay, so 1988 in the fall, we had a Human Rights Awareness Week that was organized here, and it was very fun, very exciting. But Marty Miller was the general who committed had a coup and took over the school, including arresting then
President Arthur D. Young.
like Mintz.
And we took over the student council, we took over the radio station. And then I also remember in my second floor Mac Hall dorm room, Matt Tompkins in the middle of the night descending into my window well and knocking on the window and saying, "Let me in." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Because I'm taking over." And he thought he was going to overthrow me, and I said, "Well, then I'm not letting you in." And he didn't come in until he agreed not to take me over. So the negotiations worked, and I stayed in control. But it was a great experience.
I think taking Dr. Bruner's Luke Acts class, being very nervous for the class, and making it through most of the term, then going up to Dr. Bruner and asking if he would sign my book, and he signed it. I was so excited, and my brother had taken the class also, and I knew that I had made a really good impression on him, so I was excited to read what he had spent a lot of time writing in the book. So I went around the corner, opened the book, and what he had written in the book was, "Dear Laurel, I appreciated your attendance in my class. I really like your brother."
My favorite memory that stands out the most to me is trying to catch a pine cone where you can't graduate. I never caught one, but I graduated anyway. And working at Saga as a dishwasher. Those are my favorite things.
Okay, I've been told to tell the skunk story. I'm Adam Green. It all happened Mac Hall. Some gentlemen were playing with a skunk outside, throwing cans at it. I got a phone call. Went to get the phone, there was nobody there. Went outside, saw a skunk, and they were throwing cans at it. Landed in the window well of Mac Hall. I looked down, and there's Keith Blodgett opening my window, letting the skunk in. And so he was there a good week. They did a news story on it. I got to live with Tad for a week. That was a good time to bond. Luckily, the skunk finally left. Went into a box, carried him out, set him free in the back 40. So it was a good time. Thanks.
The hard thing about answering is, which one image that stands out is there's so many. I think that's the whole thing. There's so many great things that